Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk About It Over Cocktails with Carly. I am your host, Miss Carly, baby. And tonight, as you guys can see, we're actually in a different location, but we have a special guest tonight.
You have the most special guest.
Oh, the most special guest, guys. Give it up for Mr. Toks Ogun.
Back by popular demand.
Everybody's been asking for the Ogun, so of course, this being our last show of 2022, we had to bring back the Ogun to close the show, right? So what's been going on? Are you enjoying your cocktail? Cheers to you.
Yeah.
Right? Thank you for being on the show.
Oh, you know how to come through?
Per usual. So did you enjoy the Christmas party? We had a Christmas party this last weekend, guys, okay?
I did. It was a good vibe.
Lit. You liked it?
Yeah.
Did you like the hookahs and stuff?
Oh, that was nice. You said hookahs in the back.
Yes, because you guys told me last time. Remember you told me, you said at our Juneteenth celebration, you said, Carly, you need to get some hookahs.
Yeah, because you know people love hookah.
I personally do not hookah, but we had 4 hookahs.
Yeah, but it's not about you. It's about your guests.
That's right. It's about, right?
Exactly.
So that's really good. What did you enjoy the most about the Christmas party?
Really just the people, and there were different pockets of people with different conversations.
Yeah.
Some nice debates going on. If it got too heated, you could just go play
say,
some cards.
Like me, I said, ooh, I got to tiptoe out of this conversation.
Exactly. Or if you were getting beat up at the spades table, you could just go out and smoke some hookah.
Right. That was very interesting because we've done this a couple years. And this year was very unique. And I think it's also, I'm in a different space. I think a lot of us are in different spaces. But it was really cool how there were just people paired off, like in the cocktail room playing taboo, and people in here playing spades, and then outside the hookah. And the dining room was the most heated conversations, you guys.
Men and women going back and forth.
Back and forth about relationships.
Like they've been doing all 2022.
All 2020, okay? That's all it's been, is about just relationships, just back and forth. And to be quite frank, I'm just sick of it. I'm really, really over all the relationship debacle of us not being able to just figure this shit out.
I mean, it's hard because you think about it, like relationships are it's the biggest part of people's lives.
Yeah.
So how those dynamics play out, it definitely affects people.
Yes. So on tonight's show, we're actually going to go through 2022 and really just talk about some of our monumental moments, some moments that we really wish would just go away. And so many other like fun things. So it's going to be a really good show. So you guys get your eggnog. And what is this, Trav? Eggnog and whiskey? Yep, eggnog and whiskey. And so it's really good. And it's peanut butter whiskey. And it is almond milk eggnog. So you guys got to check it out and all that fun stuff. And of course, the Ogun has tequila, mango, pineapple. Exactly. He's always on vacation with his cocktails, okay? Always. Always. So, without further ado, I got my cards tonight, y'all, but I'm also going to read a little bit from my cell phone because I took a couple notes at the last minute. But really, I want to get into, this is transparent conversation, y'all, so judge us or judge us not. But I really want to get into, like, our culture.
Okay.
Culture was a really big thing for us this year. Mm-hmm. And just really kind of, I feel like we were in this huge battleground of our culture.
Right.
You know, people wanting to cancel culture, people wanting to be a part of our culture. And what do you think about the cancel culture? What did you think about that?
It's just gotten out of hand.
Yeah.
Because what it feels like is, I'll tie that to just people's general tendency now to just be outraged by a lot of different things. And it just feels like people maybe are either bored in their lives or they have too much time on their hands where the smallest thing gets them outraged. And then they want to cancel somebody. And it's like you want to cancel somebody as if you don't have anything that you have ever done that you might be ashamed of that happened in your past. Right. But you've gone to a different place, but people want to hold you accountable all the way back to that. Right. If we did that for everybody, then almost everybody would be canceled.
Right. It's a very, I feel like cancel culture was very much giving I'm perfect. And nobody can mess up.
Yeah, and it's this whole mob mentality where it just feels like we're all gonna gang up and like chant cancel the person.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just it's really strange.
Yeah. Who did they cancel this year?
I feel like they try to cancel everybody.
The baby got canceled, but I think he was cutting up. I think the baby was cutting up. He was fighting people and shooting people and getting in trouble.
And I think he had said some things during one of his concerts that was homophobic.
Okay.
Yeah, so he got canceled.
That will definitely get you canceled, okay?
Canceled Tory Lanez.
No, they canceled Tory. Yeah, so Tory's going through that whole thing.
Well, the trial just started.
Okay.
And so now we're finding out, once the trial starts, that's when you find out the truth
all
of
the details.
What actually happened. Everything before now has been hearsay. She's been saying stuff. He hasn't been saying as much stuff because I think he had some type of order where he couldn't say much.
Right. I think she put like a gag order.
Right. On him. And so now things are coming out and people are like, finally knowing the truth. Because I think they said that one of the line of questioning was, I think they said that they had an intimate relationship.
Yeah.
Whereas I think she claimed before that they did.
They did not. I think she had an interview with, who's Oprah's girl?
Gail.
I want to say it was Gail. And she asked her, "Did you have an intimate relationship?" And she was like, "What do you mean by intimate?"
Right. Like you know what we mean.
If he massaged my feet or if he massaged something else. So it's one of those things where sometimes you don't want to claim a body. I think we've all been there where we just didn't want to claim a body. Mm-hmm. And Tory was Megan's body. She did not want to claim. And because sometimes when you allow certain people in your space that can never have typically dated you, mm-hmm. and they cut up like Tory, you're just like, oh my God, not only did I never want to let anybody know this was real, but now it's so public.
Right.
And now everybody's going to know I was with you.
Yeah, but then once you have certain incidents where people need to ask the nature of your relationship, you have to expose certain things because that does play a part in some things that happen.
It does. And I think we could see through could see through it. We knew what it was. It was probably some hookup stuff. It was what it was, but anyway.
They tried to cancel Drake because Drake came out with an album where he was just talking. It felt like everybody was outraged with what Drake was saying on some of those songs.
I think is this the album where he dropped like shortly after Beyonce or before, and it was just him? There was something between his album, Beyonce's album. They have the same type of kind of like rhythm going on. It's a very
no, that was the previous one. This was the one with 21 Savage.
Oh, the recent one.
Yeah, the recent one.
Oh, 21.
Yeah.
Don't you tell some baby.
Maybe
not that.
It felt like he
21.
It felt like he had like just different lines for so many different people, and everybody was just outraged.
I have to listen to it because I've only listened to it a little bit, and I was just like, I'm not really for it. So and I love Drake. Mm-hmm. So, but
because I was traveling to London at the time, and so I hadn't heard the album, but I saw everybody's reaction and outrage to all the different lines, and everybody just coming out like.
Do you remember one of the lines?
He had said something about. Something with a doctor or something, but she's still a stallion or something. Just kind of referring to the whole BBL trend or something like that. But I think because he used the word stallion and Meg goes by Meg the Stallion.
Oh, it was an
innuendo. People associated that it would have been about her, but people call people stallions all the time just for the shape.
That's true. What did you think about, it seems like this year it was all about the BBL craze. I mean, and people have been getting BBLs for a very long time, but it just seems like this year, everybody decided over COVID, they was getting a BBL.
Yeah, because they was doing the 3 payment special for BBLs. Special. Yeah, 3 easy payments.
I never knew that. I thought you had to pay for it all up front. Who wants to have somebody default on a BBL? You can't go get it.
You surely can.
How? Bring that ass here, girl.
Right, exactly. You get it the same way you put it in.
Right? They're going to repo that ass. So, yeah, that was a big thing. And then, of course, with the BBLs, of course, guys are like, they have penis enhancements. And so I always wonder, I don't know if you heard anything about, like, penis enhancements, but some men need them and some men don't. But from a guy's perspective, what do you think about that, the penis enhancements?
I mean, if it works for you.
Yeah, I could never expect that part of my body that's so delicate being cut to extend.
Yeah, but it's crazy because if how we live today, people have sex with different people. Yeah. So some women get exposed to rather large penises, which they then have a preference for large penises that aren't readily available in the population. So other guys feel like they got to level up.
I'm loving this, Dr. Toks. That was very scientific.
Yeah, that's what it is. They feel like they got to level up because it's just like, I might like him, but he's not as big as XYZ.
Do you think that? And that's a really good segue. Do you feel like we've become, and I would say over this year rather, do you feel like we've become over sexualized, just infatuated with sex over the last year?
Not over the last year. I think it just keeps getting more and more and more.
Like it was a gradual process.
Yeah, it's a gradual process where that then becomes the most focal point of relationships, where you could be the greatest person, totally equally yoked, but if it's not like that, then
I feel like we've become more of a sexualized community, I just feel like it's reached a level where it's kind of like, okay, guys, like, don't you want something more than just the exterior or what you can do with this person, from a sexual standpoint.
But the way people are looking at it is that I also don't want to be good with the person on that end, but I'm not satisfied sexually.
Yeah, so what if somebody just met somebody that they really liked and just kind of just build the person that you want as long as they're down with it? Is that bad?
You mean like make them get a penis implant?
Or a BBL, like if that's your thing, but that's your person. And I know we're going to get backlash on this. Like, let people be who they are. If they're not for them, like, let's just be honest here. We're being very transparent, guys. Like, if you meet somebody and guess what? Maybe your thing is short hair and you're like, you know what? I like a woman with short hair and your hair is long. Like, why don't you try to cut your hair and let's try it out? That's what I like. Why can't people just work with the core and then work from the core from the outward?
That's a slippery slope. Because then that's kind of like you're making your partner.
Well, you do have to make each other.
Well, I like...
You have to mold to each other.
Yeah, but that could go so many different ways. Like, I like girls with a certain size of ass. I like girls with a certain size of titty.
Well, you have to be realistic.
But where do you draw the line?
Yeah, in this society, I feel like we can never draw the line.
It's always going to keep going to the extreme because there's an option for it to go to the extreme.
When do you think that it's just going to stop? What do you think? At what point are we going to get to where it's just like, you know what? Like, I see these girls, massive butts, super tiny waist. Everybody's getting veneers. Everybody's getting these fillers. Everybody. And it's just like, at what point do we say, I'm content with my life and myself. I just want to live.
I don't think we ever get to that point because after you've gone so far, doing what you're talking about feels like settling for most people.
Oh, I like that. Okay. So I will ask you, something that came up a lot in our culture was 50-50. Going 50-50.
Going 50-50.
You know, like Drake said, I ain't going 50-50 with no hope. Right now. Okay.
No, that's true. I was thinking about what he was saying because he meant the 50-50 in a different way.
Oh.
Yeah.
Way to go again, Carly.
Yeah. He was... Other people were talking about splitting 50-50 bills, and he's talking about not splitting his fortune 50-50 with the woman.
Ah. Okay.
Different 50-50.
That is a different 50-50. Okay, so I wonder if he's not interested. Well, I don't know. That's a rabbit hole.
If he's not interested in what?
Well, I was going to say getting married, but I think he just got some sort of necklace created because he's 42 engagement diamonds that he wanted to give to 42 different women.
And
he's just so a hopeless romantic, isn't he?
No, I'll say what one of the things that Drake is that he's a great storyteller.
Yes, he is.
So he does all these things that are these moments that people have that people just are just like, oh, that's so crazy, or the people talk about it because it's just like. So he's essentially saying that he's thought about proposing 42 times. And rather than just have that be an experience that he kept in his mind or talked about, he's like, oh no, I'm going to create a necklace with 42 engagement stones because I can. And I know that it's going to get picked up by the blogs and the media and people are going to talk about it. And it's going to keep me relevant. So he loves stuff like that. So
now that I understand the difference, guys, clearly I'm not as hip as I thought I was.
It's all right. All right. That's why I'm here.
That's why you're here.
Exactly.
So I will say the going 50-50 thing came up quite a bit.
Oh, it did, yeah.
And I'm not going 50-50. I can bring other things to the table. And so I feel like there was just such a craze and oversaturation of women saying, I'm not paying this, and men pay all the bills. And what do you think about that? What was your take on that?
I think the best way that you can summarize probably the whole entire conversation is that modern women want traditional men. So that's essentially saying that at the point in time where men paid all the bills and were the totally providers was a moment in the past when women didn't work.
Okay.
And because women didn't work, there were a whole bunch of other things that we did within our culture that made sense, which is why men paid for dates because women weren't working. Women couldn't afford to contribute on dates because men worked and they didn't.
When was this time?
This was when dating started. Because, we didn't always date before there was courting.
Correct.
Where you were of age and your family felt like it was time for you to get married. Some suitors would come by and maybe you guys would hang out in the living room while in the house, but being supervised. And the intention was that you guys weren't going to have a relationship and do all this other stuff, but you guys were going to see if you guys wanted to get married. If you didn't want to get married within a short time, you went on about your business. But you also had a short window within you were supposed to do that because you were supposed to be of age, a certain season where you had to get married. So you had to pick somebody within that season because you didn't want to be somebody who was older
and unmarried.
Because that kind of said that, hey, you went through the process and nobody wants you. And so it was like a bad sign.
Right.
So then we started dating, which is two people deciding on their own they're going to establish something.
Right.
And because during that time women didn't work, men felt that they had to pay because otherwise you wouldn't be able to have a date.
Okay, so fast forward.
So fast forward to that, women start working. Also, the economy changes, inflation happens. And we also forget that there was a point in time when men supported a household completely.
They still do that, but okay.
No, but I'm saying like this was widespread where there was a huge middle class and man worked, woman was a housewife, they had the 2.1 kids and the white picket fence, had a car, house, everything, and he was able to support that. Mm-hmm. But as we've gone throughout time and inflation has happened, you're not really able to support a single household with one income the way you were, like let's say in the 1950s.
Yes,
And so, and especially with the standards of living that a lot of people have expectations on, it's almost like both people have to work.
Right.
But if you still hold some of those traditional values, expecting that the man is now supposed to provide all of that, it's almost an unfair burden. Now, of course, you do have some rich men who can't afford that, but as we know, not everybody's rich.
I don't think that necessarily rich men are the only ones able to afford to carry a household.
I'd say the only other way that men are able to carry the household is if the expectations of the people in the household are based on his income.
Okay, that's fair.
Because
obviously that's like living within means of him being able to take care of it.
Yeah.
So I get it. So to take it back to dating and to take it back to women, modern women wanting traditional.
Yeah.
So I definitely am a modern woman. I definitely want a traditional relationship.
Yeah.
And I think you can have both with understanding. I think the problem is that a lot of men feel as though they have money and you just have to cater to whatever they want based off of them having these financial means. Whereas it goes back to, hey, what about we work together as a family? Yes, I'm able to take care of this, but you're also able to do so much more than you were historically able to do. So guess what?
What do you mean?
Let's build. So we'll just kind of mention in terms of like women, how they didn't have the capabilities of, they weren't working, they were being more so courted instead of like, so it's like now as a modern woman, we have all these different resources. We can be both. We can be a homemaker, we could be a professional, but there's a happy balance, and we can be a wife and we could be a mother. There are women out there successfully doing it.
But it's a very
Do you think that it's a small sector of women that are able to balance?
I think it's a small sector of women that really excel at that because you very much have a balancing act because in a way you're being both a man and a woman in that.
How? Because you choose to work?
No, because you have a full-time job outside of the house. Mm-hmm. But then you have an expectation of your partner that he's supposed to be the provider.
Well, so let's talk about provider. So the provider is the head of household.
Yes.
Which would be in my household, it would be my man. My husband would be the head of household.
Right.
Everything else that's not the head of household falls back on me.
Which is what?
Taking care of home. If there are things that need to be taken care of financially, like I wouldn't have a problem taking care of them. I think that some people feel as though when it comes down to taking care of the bills and being the head of household or being the man or being a woman, you feel as though all the burden falls on the husband financially. Well, if he's the head of household, he's taking care of the financials, you're taking care of everything else. Or you guys are splitting, whatever the case, whatever your agreement is.
Right, but then here's the I'll say probably the biggest challenge is that once you have people playing different roles, everybody comes into the relationship or marriage with a different understanding of what that is. And so it becomes very difficult to get people on the same page because, like you're saying, okay, yes, you handle all the bills, I take care of the house. But then another woman might be like, well, I mean, if I'm working 40 hours, you're working 40 hours. We should, share a bunch of things. But then are you saying we should share the household chores? Are we saying we should share the household bills? Like, what are you saying? And it becomes those conversations that people really don't have because really we weren't taught to have those conversations and figure out those nuances before we jumped into the marriage or jumped into the situation.
The relationships that I've had, it's been more along the lines of, I am a man. Mm-hmm. I value you as my woman, as my lady. I will take care of all these things because I don't want you to worry and have financial burden.
Right.
I want you to soar. I want you to be, independent. I love that about you. Mm-hmm. Right. And so with that said, I was always empowered to be strong in these situations with men that wanted me to be, that took care of like the financial beings.
So the part that's always missing from that conversation is that whenever a guy is doing that, there's always an exchange. So it's, I handle all of this and you handle that so that we have like
it's a balance.
An understanding.
Yeah.
And so what you handle now becomes in question because some guys feel like if I'm paying all the bills, I expect that I should be able to come home to, it could be a hot meal.
And that's fair.
It could be laundry. It could be so many different things.
That's fair. So guess what? If you're paying all the bills and you're making my life comfortable, allow me the opportunity to hire grounds people to take care of the things that we need. Or I will cook, or I will run the errands and order Uber, whatever.
Right.
What is it? Instacart, or whatever it is to make our life comfortable. So if you have a provider, the other part of that ebb and flow is that woman that helps make everything together or bring everything together and make it life comfortable.
Yeah, but then think about it. If she is so busy in her other career outside of the homemaking part, then she might also be tired when she gets back from that. And
well, that's fair. And I guess what? Even as being a provider, you get tired as well.
Yeah, but you're not allowed to get tired. As a provider, you got to provide.
This is true. And
whether,
that's why you're the head of household.
Whether you want to get up and go to work or not, you still got to get up and go to work.
That's why you're the head of household, because you take on the responsibility. Just like as a woman, we take on the responsibility to make the house the home. It's not an easy task.
No, it's not easy.
You know, and so especially if you do have that 1.5 children, the picket fence, and the dog and the cat.
Yeah, it's not easy.
It's not an easy task, but it's about balance.
Yeah.
And to your point, I do believe that we and this is we often talk, and this is a sidebar, but all relative. We often talk about these issues, these trials and tribulations. We go round and round in circle. We talk about our opinions, but what are we doing to actually execute and change the narrative? So we're going to talk a lot about this, but we're going to talk about how to change actually the narrative so that we can move forward in a new thought process in 2023.
Yeah.
So my recommendation is to, like you mentioned, Toks, have these conversations.
Yeah.
Like,
and
it's
then also,
okay.
And then also, from the women's side, I don't think women understand how difficult it is with some of the situations that they put themselves in that if you are a woman and you're used to working and making your own money, mm-hmm. you also kind of set up a certain standard of lifestyle for yourself, mm-hmm. that if you then get together with a man and you expect for him to be a provider, you are expecting for him to provide your standard of lifestyle. That's fair. You're definitely not downgrading. Yeah. So now think about it. Like, let's say you make $100,000 and you have $100,000 lifestyle. Mm-hmm. You expect him to support whatever lifestyle he had before he met you, mm-hmm. which could be also $100,000 lifestyle. You now expect him to also support yours, which is now kind of like $200,000. So what do you mean by support? Are you speaking from a materialistic standpoint, or what do you mean by support? We could talk about from a materialistic standpoint, because I mean, if you're used to living in, a nice 5-bedroom house, you expect that he's going to have a nice 5-bedroom house for you to live in.
This is true.
If you're used to going on, a couple of vacations a year, you might expect that he's not going to fund all of that.
So if you're making $100,000, that's a bit of an extreme lifestyle.
I mean, you've seen Instagram. I'm sure you've seen
Everybody's
Instagram.
Rich on
Everybody's rich on Instagram. Everybody's traveling.
So if you're making just at $100,000, even a little bit in the middle, and you're living in a 5-bedroom house, and you're buying luxury items, and you're living beyond your means.
Yeah.
Because you also have to carve out a percentage of your income, double digits of savings.
Yes.
You have life insurance policies.
Right.
There's
insurances. So then now imagine as a man, you're now kind of assuming the responsibility for that.
Yeah.
In addition to what you already had before.
So you have to also remember, Toks.
It's a lot.
It's levels to it. That's not a lot for some men. Some men are like, oh, I can take care of you and me very comfortably. Pursue your dreams. Be a good woman to me. Be loyal to me. Be honest. Be down for me. And we'll live a great, happy life.
Yeah. But then that also comes with certain expectations.
Such as?
I'll say normally if a man is like, I'm going to be the sole provider, I got you on everything, he expects to be the head of household where he expects to be the final word on a lot of things. So which means that I totally support you in all the things that you want to do, but I do have certain things that I do like. I have certain things that I don't like. For somebody who's been living an independent life, that can feel like somebody's trying to control you. So
then you have to step back and say, what's my real trade-off? Do I want to be completely independent and not listen to anybody and really just live my life the way I want? Exactly. Or do I want to mold to a relationship that I think I can be very happy in? And it's not necessarily the financial aspect of it. It's I'm happy with this person. Yeah. And guess what? This person just wants to is not a morning person, right? So it's like, it's so funny because the older we get, the more cumbersome finding somebody that you mold with is going to be. Yeah, because you're already molded. You're hard. Because you're already molded. What'd you say? Oh, go aged candle. I said, you already molded. You hard. Yeah. It's like if you've been living by yourself for the last 10 years, do you know how hard it is to cohabitate with somebody else where you then have to compromise on how they live and what they do, and then imagine you're the woman. And you're going into somebody else's house. And then now it's just like, oh, he doesn't like this, he doesn't like that. But it's just like, why would you not like that or like this? It doesn't make sense. You know what? I always think about like, what happens with the decor? Like, what if I get with somebody that wants that likes a special type of decor? And I'm like, Exactly. You mean to tell me you want a black leather couch? Ugh, do you want a man cave? Exactly. So you start running into all these different challenges, which lead to all these conversations. And that's why you see an overflow of all these conversations happening online because there's real friction in terms of people getting together because when you have a culture where everybody can choose their own lifestyle, but then they also want to get together with everybody. Yeah. You're going to run into a bunch of conflicts. You know what? At the Christmas party, New had a really good, shout out to a pod called Kickback. But he had a really good point. He said, if you're having a conversation with somebody and you realize that this is what you like you like blue and I like pink and we're not for each other. If you want all your bills paid and I'm not paying all your bills, we're not made for each other. Absolutely. And so what I think it is people just have to get to the point of understanding just because you may like somebody, they may not be your person. Right, but the hard part is letting that connect mentally. No, it's not even letting that connect mentally. Is that we weren't necessarily designed as human beings to date for forever. So in a world where everybody can choose their own adventure, then finding somebody who meshes with you, you have to end up talking to a lot of people, which gets frustrating because it's just like, why is it so hard? Why is it so hard to find somebody? But it's hard to find somebody because everybody's allowed to do their own thing. Okay, so 2 things with that. I definitely want to talk about, monogamy, but I also want to talk about the fact that I feel like there's an oversaturation of dating and just keep revolving door of dating. And I think what happens is with that philosophy, people get blurred vision of what they really want because then what happens is they go out with Toks and they're like, oh wow, he opens doors, he's so cool, I like that, but I'm going to go out with Trav. He's tall, he's handsome. Well, okay. All of that. All right. You know what I'm saying? Then I'm going to go out with Alan, And I'm like, oh my God, Alan pays all the bills, but he's got baby mama troubles. But he's nice and he calls me and says, good morning and grand rising queen and all that.
Right.
And then you've got these 3 men that are viable candidates and you're just like, what do I do? And then you go on a dating site or then you go somewhere else. And it's like, I feel like toddle between 2. Just do 2. Date 2 people, maybe at once. I'm a one at a time dater. But just 2 people at once to entertain, just to see who is somebody that you probably will kind of mold better with. If it's somebody that you're really just not interested in, what we need to leave in 2022 is stop dealing with people you really don't want to be with. Like, stop stringing people along. If you do not want this person, sis, let him go. If you don't want her, stop having sex with her. Okay, stop. Because what's happening is you're creating this vicious cycle of karma. Let's just call it what it is. Eggnog time.
I'll say that people forget in the past there was a reason why things were a certain way. And when you just throw things out, then you deal with the ramifications later on.
This is true, but you really have to be ready to be done with a person. You can't prematurely be done with a person because then you come back and it's a vicious cycle.
I think really what it is that you have to be willing to accept your trade-offs and commit to what you've accepted.
I agree.
You're never going to get everything that you want.
I agree.
And you have to be okay and accept that.
Yeah.
If you keep trying to optimize for that last little bit, just like you said, you've dated these 3 people. Now, rather than pick one of them, you want to find somebody that has all 3 of those things in one person. And so you keep searching, but then you keep kind of adding to that list. Oh, this person had almost all the 3, but they also had this other thing that I didn't think about that I like now. Or how about
this person has all 3 of these, but he's into polyamorous relationships. And I really like him, so I'm going to date him and be pissed off and want to change him and tell all my friends about, like, oh my God, this guy, like, I hate him, but I love him. And you just created a vicious cycle of toxicity in your life, sis.
And then probably the last I'll say is that there's a reason why in the past there was courting, which means you had that small window. And then once you made a choice, it was till death do you part.
Right.
Which means that you couldn't backtrack on. That's it.
You got to be committed to your whole commitment.
Committed to the whole thing. Because once you started allowing people to backtrack through divorce, it's just like, oh, I made a mistake. I'm going to go back. But then now you've experienced something that you're going to expect from these new people. And it just ends up being real messy.
So I think this year we went through a lot of different cycles of just stuff on Instagram. So the polyamorous.
Oh yeah,
that damn polyamorous stuck around for about 2 quarters for me. I'm like, would it go away?
I think it's still here.
It's still here, but social media feeds us.
Everybody's kind of sort of polyamorous.
Well, I guess if you're not in a relationship with anybody and you're dating,
if you're dating, yeah, you're in an open relationship.
Oh my God. Especially here in Atlanta.
You know what I mean?
But I just feel like, do you think being polyamorous perpetuates the Black community? Like it perpetuates the Black family? I feel like monogamy does.
Yes, monogamy does perpetuate the Black family, but I don't think that is our goal. I think so far our goal for a lot of people has been to satisfy themselves.
I agree.
Which is where polyamory comes in, where I want, the best of whatever I want to be.
Right. So do you think that it's come to be a lot more popular in the younger community?
Well, yeah, because they are seeing that, all right, if we continue to just focus on ourselves, then why can't I just dibble and dabble and have every little bit of thing that I want and create my own existence and world of all my people?
Oh my God.
And so that just pushes that further and further. And then what seems like marriage then seems like so final that people put that off till like forever. And that's if they ever get to it.
Yeah, I think that the poly lifestyle is not perpetuating and encouraging the Black families. It's not building the community. I think that what's happening is a lot of kids that are being born out of wedlock, bastard children. Because
you mean like that's what they used to call them in the that is what they used to call people in the past. And they did that because it was to discourage people from doing those activities. That if you had a child out of wedlock, they were a bastard. Is now
a bastard.
And that bastard would carry them through their life.
Oh my God.
So it encouraged,
bastard would carry.
Yeah, it would encourage other people not to do it because you're now not a legitimate child that's within a marriage
union.
situation
Yes.
and you're entitled to inheritance and all
Yes.
that, you're a bastard.
So what's happened is I feel as though the society in more recent years has created a bunch of bastard children, and that is not what that is not perpetuating our Black families and creating the growth of our community and it's just not, and I hate it.
And then it's kind of like I'll say you can, let's say, compare the U.S. to, like, let's say maybe a place like China, right?
Yeah.
Which they're more community focused. So it's just like, while everybody may not be happy, everybody's doing what they need to do for the growth and the maintenance of the collective. So it's just like, we're not going to have a bunch of, bastard children. You're going to get married. You're going to stay married. It's going to be within this. You're going to follow these rules because it's good for everybody. But some people may be like, oh, but what if I'm in an unhappy marriage? Well, so be it.
That's what you chose.
That's what you chose. And you got to, you made your bed and you got it right. Exactly. But in our world, people aren't willing to accept that, where it's just like,
I think that we're just too free and we just have too much reign.
We're too free and we're too individualistic.
Yeah, and I think that what's happening is, so let's talk about the great shift that's happening, because this is a part of the great shift. The
great shift to where?
I don't know. That's what the scary damn part is. Where are we really shifting to? I mean, fuck.
It's like the great shift to hell.
Yeah, the great shift to hell. Shift down. You're on 6th gear, and that's it. So I feel like, okay, so we've had the demise of the Black family. Okay. People are more so in our community perpetuating and really encouraging polyamorous relationships and opposed to monogamy.
Right.
We've got celebrities being looked up upon as Malcolm X and Martin Luther King used to be looked up upon.
I know.
And it's very frustrating, and I'm just going to say it like it is. Like, Cardi B is not, I think she's a cool artist, but she should not be, a role model. Like,
Absolutely.
if my daughter was like, oh, I love Cardi B, and talking like her and wanting to be like her, I would feel like I failed as a parent.
Absolutely.
I feel like ignorance has taken over our children and their growth. I feel like they feel as though it's cool to be ignorant. It's cool to do crimes and talk and speak in broken language, and it's. I mean, I have some other things that I want to say about it. I'm trying to find other filler words, but I feel like I don't like the fact that celebrities have taken the influence of our youth.
No, and I agree with that, but I mean, they've also kind of, let's say, just filled the vacuum of there not being somebody else that is that role model. So you kind of have to provide a role model for people, or people will provide a role model for themselves.
Yep.
So, it's like, okay, and that's nothing against Cardi B. I mean, she's hilarious. You know what I mean?
She is. She's very entertaining.
She's very entertaining.
But I need people to understand the difference between entertainment and real life.
Exactly.
And I think that even people in our generation don't get it.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
They feel as though fuck nigga free is real life. Like, you may have some experiences with somebody that you're just like, oh, that guy's a fuck boy. But like, to sing a song, to project it as a mantra, to make it who you are, it's just like, do you not realize words hold power?
Yeah.
And so as we're repeating these words of these...
So you don't like fucking nigga free?
I don't really deal with fuck niggas. So I don't need to sing the song.
So you can't relate?
Not at all. Not at all.
You've never dealt with one? Like, come on.
One in particular.
Okay.
But no, not typically. No. But I think that we should be more selective in who we date and who we give our time and energy to. Speaking of energy, I think another big thing this year was about energy. Everybody got in their holistic shit. Like, everybody was talking about good vibes, bad vibes, negative energy, crystals, and all that fun stuff.
But you know what that is, though, right?
What?
Is that...
Because Erykah Badu been talking about it for years. So what happened?
I'll say fundamentally, people crave, like, a spiritual experience.
Yeah.
And as the church overall has kind of, like, let's say, faded from importance with people, or really also kind of changed the dynamic of church. Because you look at a lot of churches and they've almost gone more corporate, where it's kind of like flashy PowerPoint presentations and like all of this lights and effects and all that, and they've kind of removed a lot of the spiritual aspects of it.
Yeah.
And because people still seek that, they have to find that some other place, which is where you get the crystals, where it's like an experience where I feel more centered when I have this.
Yeah.
Your church isn't providing that to you, whereas before they did.
Yeah, it was the Bible forever.
Yeah, it was the Bible. It was
the cross,
holy water, the whole candle thing. Even when you look at how, like, let's say, churches were constructed, like let's say Catholic churches and some of those other churches, it had, the architecture was an experience that when you came to church, you felt like you were in
the presence of the
Lord.
Right,
you felt like you were in the presence of the Lord.
Yeah.
Not like you went to a work conference, which is what a lot of churches feel like today.
Yeah.
And so because that's missing, people are just like, I need that, and they're going to find it other ways.
I think that we're in a spiritual warfare, and I think that energy has gotten stronger. Both negative and positive energy. Yeah. And so I think that what happens is people have tapped into that third mantra of like energy, and they're like, oh my God, I felt it. Like they're actually some are becoming more centered in the whole spiritual realm. Yeah. So they're like, wow, and I can do this, and I have my mantras, and this behavior that is changing because of these things that I'm doing, and I hold the power to my life. Yeah. You know, not going to church every Sunday, which there's nothing wrong with it. Yeah. But it's what you find that you're able to identify with.
Yeah, and that's I'll say that's where I feel like a lot of churches have dropped the ball. Yeah. In that, yes, come to church on Sundays. Yes, do the small group studies. Yes, be part of the choir or whatever it is. But then you have to give people assignments for them to do on their own. Yeah. For their own spiritual growth, where it's just like, this is your responsibility, unsupervised time where it's your life, it's your spirit. Spend time, kind of like understanding and centering yourself, and kind of provide them that experience so that they don't have to go find that elsewhere. Right. And when you're in that spiritual space, you meet other spiritual people. Exactly. And then you start to research, and you're like, oh my God. And then you're connecting the dots like, well, this means this as well. Exactly. And then you have like crystals. Some people I love crystals. Yeah. And I remember taking it to my mom several years ago, and I'm like, oh, I have these crystals. And I was very apprehensive at first because my mom's very conservative. Right. And so I'm like, look at these crystals. And she's like, what are those rocks? Like, what? And so I had to explain it to her. And over years, she's grown to understand and and have crystals now. Right. Because now she has a better understanding. These are from the earth. Exactly. This is something that God created, right? It's not a cross that was bought at the Macy's. Right. It was actually coming from the earth as collard greens come from the earth. Exactly. So I'm like, okay, and then, this dandelion tea is really good for you. Here are all the agents that it helps the benefits. And look, we can drink this, and this helps you feel better and centered. So I think that when people started digging deeper, they're like, holy macro, like I actually hold the power too. We do. Exactly. Exactly. And so it's interesting. I love it. I'm a Christian. I believe in God. I also understand the power that I hold. And I'm really happy to see people becoming more centered because we need it. We're in a spiritual warfare. I feel like a church who finds a way to combine all of that would really, really serve a lot of people, because they would feel like I'm getting all of that from this one body, where I don't feel like I have to go find or research that on my own, but I can get all of that. Right. And churches used to provide that. It used to be like a complete spiritual experience. Yes. Where you see even... And some still are. The music gets me though. Yeah. It's something about like being at peace. It's quiet. They start singing, and it's this beautiful, and you're just like, oh my God, you get these chills. You get that experience. And then I was going to say, even with something like communion, which, a lot of churches have kind of stopped that communion, but like you see in the Catholic Church, because I'm a Christian, but I'm also Catholic. But I'm also... I never knew you were Catholic. Yeah, I'm a lot of different things, but it's all Christian. You're a lot of different things? Well, yeah, because I don't see why you can't be a Catholic and also a Baptist and also all these other things. That's fair. It's all part of the same thing. I know someone that is a Christian but also has Muslim beliefs, so... Exactly. So the way they do communion, where it's not somebody comes down the row and passes you the wafer and the whatever... But you have to physically get up out of your seat, File up like everybody else.
Stand in line. I went to Catholic school.
Right. Go get the communion. You drink from the same chalice like everybody else does.
Rub that little thing and here's your turn.
Right. But there's something about submitting to that process that is an experience that's outside of you. It's not made for your convenience.
Right.
It's made for your submission to that.
Right.
That has a spiritual experience to it, because I'm not just, sitting back like, I'll take one of those. And then, like it's a little snack pack.
Yeah, because that's how it felt when I was in school. I'm like, I need to go get me some of them wafers.
Right.
Father John? So I love that. Speaking of eating and just kind of shifting, so there's a craze right now of women that, actually there's this woman that was on Instagram today, I saw it, and she asked a guy to buy her child food on their date. And so how do you feel about taking a woman on a date and her saying, okay, well, you took me out on a date, but I've got a kid at home, or I've got 2 children. Can you go ahead and just get them the steak and lobster? Because that's what I had and that's what they're used to. So how do you feel about that?
I mean, everybody's entitled to, let's say, ask for what they want. But I feel like that's not in the spirit of dating. Because I think we've also forgotten the purpose of dating. The purpose of dating was to get to know each other and see if we are compatible towards marriage.
Right.
But in the all open free for all that we are now, some people are just dating just to have a good time. Some people are dating because they're bored. Some people are dating because they're hungry. And so like there are all these different instances. And so it's like, why would you bring the needs of your child to this person that you just met?
Yeah.
That you're just trying to establish and see where they are. That's just not in the good spirit of dating.
Right. So I've had experiences during dating
where a guy asked you to pay for his child's child's lobster dinner.
No. No. I had an experience with just dating where, when my daughter was younger, it was just like, I know you have a daughter at home, and I know that I took you away. Like I've had guys pay, like, here's $100 for your babysitter. Here's, let's go to dinner. Take something for your daughter, please. And sometimes I would, sometimes I would not. But it just shows me like the way that they kind of give the advance. It's like, please, I took you away. It's
Carly,
late.
Now, I don't know if this is right or true, but it sounds like you be dating some rich men. No. I'm just saying. It sounds like you be dating some rich men. Because think about this. Because a lot of times women never think about it from a guy standpoint. You think about, okay, so we're going on this date. And considering how people date nowadays, do you know how many dates this guy might be going on? And how many $100 he might have to be given for childcare? And it starts to add up. It starts to add up to be a lot.
Toks is like doing the math in his
right, yeah, you start doing the math and it's just like, you guys might not go out on another date. And that might just be it.
So if it's like the first date, I more than likely would not. I would just be like, no, it's okay.
Gotcha.
If it's somebody that I'm developing a relationship with, then I'd be like, okay, I'll take her home some chocolate cake.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
You know what? And then I don't get the freaking lobster with filet mignon drizzled on top with truffle butter. I'll get I'll take the salmon and some vegetables. You know what I mean? Like something she would like. But asking for somebody to bring the 24-karat gold steak out to bring home to my kid on a first, second, or third date, I think is really, it's obnoxious.
It is. It's distasteful.
It's distasteful and it's obnoxious. And I feel like a lot more men would give freely and willingly if women did not come off so thirsty.
Absolutely. And
entitled. I think it's less thirsty and more entitled.
It's more entitled. And I think that's probably where a lot of men have issues, is the entitlement.
Yeah. Because
I'd say the best way to get things from a man is to actually find a man who is just giving.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? It doesn't necessarily mean the amount of money. He could be giving his time. He could be giving you access. He could be giving his vulnerability, which we struggle with that.
Definitely.
And I wish that, going into 2023, we as a culture learn to be more vulnerable with people that are vulnerable to us.
That's hard.
You have to know. You can't be vulnerable to every single person.
See,
but if somebody is saying, I'm being vulnerable, I'm showing my hands, Like, be able to recognize and understand. Like,
are they showing their real hand or are they faking it?
They're showing some fake nails.
Because that's what tends to happen is that
you go be honest, and then they're being honestish.
Yeah, and then the next time you try to be dishonest to combat that, and it's just the longer you stay in the streets, the more you become part of the streets.
Oh, that is a true statement. Alone, that is a true statement.
And the streets don't never lose.
They never lose. So
undefeated,
and Instagram is undefeated. I mean, when I tell you, I think I'm going to take a social media break.
It's good for everybody to do that.
I think it's good because I wasn't really on today. Like, I posted to the Christmas party late, but then I was just like, I started looking and I'm like, oh my God, if you are just off for one day, that's like being off for 3 days.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, and so I try to catch up sometimes before I go to bed, but I'm like, you know what? I want to start creating different like practices before I go to bed, before I allow my mind to like digress.
Right.
And so because social media runs us, it controls us.
It does.
It's starting to really control.
It dictates where people go, what they do, when they go those places.
Prince told us, be careful of the tube.
Yeah.
That's what he told us. Be careful of the tube. And the tube was YouTube. It was the internet.
Yeah.
And don't let the internet, what did he say? Don't let the internet make you make the internet or something like that. I can't remember. Was that right? Yeah. And so it's like, it doesn't run me. I share what I want. You do the same. You share what you want. Mm-hmm. It doesn't create this fictitious way of, you having to live your life or whatever. Like, I think a lot of my friends are pretty solid for the most part.
But it does sometimes, because I know I don't post everything that's going on in my life, but what I have found is that certain people respond to what I do post and choose that to represent who I am. Yeah. And then when we have, like, let's say a face-to-face in-person interaction, they expect that
they get ready to get bottles popped in and traveling.
Yeah, and all of that. And it's just like...
Let's go get coffee. Hi, my name is Toks.
Right. And sometimes it's even just like, even with friendships, it's the same thing where... Because like when... I do post a lot when I'm out. I also post a lot when I travel. Yeah. So it might seem like I travel all the time, but
because you use Instagram for a social platform.
Yeah.
That's it.
And also, I'm only going to show you stuff that's worth seeing if I'm just chilling at home.
I'm not going to show you my TV.
Right, exactly. There's nothing to show you. But then if you are primarily, let's say, interacting with me on that platform, you feel like, oh,
yeah.
It's going to be everywhere. Yeah. This and that.
This guy's popping.
Right. And then when it's just chill for a couple weeks, it's just like, I thought this was popping.
Right.
It's like,
this is my real life.
Yeah, it will be. You just got to give it some time.
Yes, because you ain't getting it right off, sister. But yeah, I think that people are so used to living in the fictitious world of Instagram and social media to where they don't even really know, like, this is some fun, just regular, like the Christmas party. That was regular, fun, freaking time. We have these ugly ass sweaters on, so nobody comes with a cute sweater. Okay, everybody takes their shoes off, so now you've got 2 layers of just comfortability there. Right. You have to be comfortable. You gotta be comfortable. You can't be uptight. Nobody cares that you got your Balenciaga, Dolce & Gabbana, Louboutins on. Nobody cares. Everybody's wearing these ugly sweaters and just being silly and drinking and talking and really just enjoying themselves. And I think we've gotten so far away from that. It's so far removed. People just don't even know who they are anymore. They don't, especially when you're trapped in social media. But once you get off, you start to realize that there's your actual life that's just out here, and you have to be comfortable, content, and happy with just living your life without the responses from people being like, oh, that's so amazing, you're so beautiful, and that's so lit. You notice it's always like the same people. I'm like, do I just have 17 followers? Like, why are always the same ones?
Everybody's got fans. Everybody got particular fans.
But they see.
Yeah.
It's a lot of eyes.
Yeah, a lot of people see.
A lot of people see.
A lot of people see and never communicate.
Never.
'Cause it'll be sometimes where I will meet like people that I know, but like, let's say we don't get to talk all the time.
Yeah.
And then they'll make comments about stuff that they've seen on social media.
And you're like, but you never.
I haven't.
You never said hey.
Yeah, you never say hey or nothing, but they see.
Right. I think that is so weird. People hold on to likes and follows like it's your credit score. Like it's gonna be a hard inquiry. Mm-hmm. Like it's just a soft pull.
But then also because people act like people liking it is just like, Oh, they be liking all my stuff.
Let me tell you something. I like everything, okay? I'm like, oh, the baby, oh, that's so cute. I don't care. Like, it's just entertainment.
I want Instagram to implement, if somebody looks at your content
it's
for 2 seconds, immediate like. You've been on this too long not to like it. Immediate like.
Right, or if you go back again, like.
Double
that's a
view.
follow.
That's double view.
If you go back a third time, you automatically follow, and it takes 30 days to unfollow.
Exactly. That's what we need.
Like, we need to start penalizing them. Okay, you know who would do it? Elon Musk. He'd be like, you know what? You looked, you follow.
Yeah.
You know what?
None of that lurking where, no, you follow.
But we got love for the lurkers too, because y'all fans too. We love y'all too.
No, but identify yourselves.
But identify yourself.
Sign up for the fan club.
Yeah, just like I go to my favorite place in DC, Ocean Prime.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a waitress out there, bartender, and so no, I'm sorry, this was Joe's. Megan. She's our awesome waitress. Mm-hmm. And so we call her Megan the Stallion. She's anyway.
And she's a stallion for real?
She's a little stallion, yes. But
like a little baby one?
Yeah, she's married. But
that don't mean she's not a stallion.
She's a stallion.
I'm not saying calling her a stallion doesn't mean I'm trying to holler at her. I'm just saying is she a stallion or not?
She's a stallion. She's a stallion.
Okay.
So
congratulations to her husband.
Yeah.
What she's a stallion for.
So
he got a stallion.
Yes, she has a stallion. So when I went the last time, she's like, "Oh my God, Carly, hey!" And I'm like, "Hey, girl!" And she's like, "Oh my God, I love your show." And I'm like, "I didn't even know you'd be watching." Mm-hmm. I said, "Megan, like something. Show me that you watch so I can give you a shout out." So shout out to Megan at Joe's in DC. Okay, it's a seafood restaurant. It's very good. She's absolutely amazing. Of course, my bartender actually was here for his birthday. Mm-hmm. He works at Ocean Prime. Okay. And so he came to the party. He was the one that mixed up all of our cocktails. So he's the one that made, his name is Richard.
Okay, yeah.
So Richard. Yes, Richard.
So you got personal bartenders and servers. That's lit.
They're just
probably living that rich lifestyle.
No, it's just people that you meet and they just love the energy, because when you're positive.
But that is rich people behavior. You know what I'm saying?
Like, slide some money in my cash
rich people always got their personal. Oh, John is my man at the country club.
John's my man.
Susan is my concierge at the St. Regis, and you know what I'm saying. They make sure I'm good and taken care of.
I would I would, if I ever got blessed to be that wealthy, I would always take care of people. I will always take care of the people that take care of me.
Absolutely.
What you leaving in 2022?
Well,
what do you want to leave?
I'm not leaving nothing.
What do you want us to leave in 2022?
I want people to leave the outrage, because it's just like, it feels like we're at a point where things are so good mm-hmm. that the majority of people are bored, which is why they spend so much time on social media. Mm. And things are so good, you just have to find something to be outraged at.
Something to complain about.
Yeah, you got to find something to complain about. Things are too good. You're not struggling enough to the point where you feel like, because think about it. If you're so busy, wrapped up in your purpose or whatever it is that you're doing, you don't have time to be outraged by other people, because you understand that they're not living my life. I might not agree with them, but I'm not going to agree with everybody. So I don't have to be outraged. But when everything triggers you, that just becomes
something's going on with you.
Something's going on. Yeah. It's either that or they're really frustrated within their lives and they feel like, here's a moment where I can actually do something that makes me feel like I'm good. So it could be one of the two.
I agree. I think we should definitely leave
the outrage and also leave the canceling people.
The canceling people, I can't stand. It's like, who gave you the fucking right?
Yeah.
Excuse me, Christ, miss.
And then we can't you can't cancel everybody.
You can't cancel everybody.
Who's gonna be left?
Well, we didn't get a chance to talk about Kanye, but I feel like Kanye did a lot in 2022.
He did a whole lot.
He did a whole lot.
No, he did, and I'll tell you that, I am a Kanye fan.
I'm a Kanye fan, and I know you were a big Kanye fan.
Yeah, and I'm still a big Kanye fan, but normally when he starts saying stuff, it's kind of like, let's say he's not a friend of mine, but it's like he's a friend that just says stuff that I'm just like, bro, I don't know what you're talking about, but all right, whatever.
Come on, let's go.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then it feels like towards the end, he's now just doubling and tripling and quadrupling down on the stuff, to the point where it's just like, okay, and so what? Like, what's your point? Like, what are you really trying to say? I get that you want the freedom to do whatever it is that you want, but what is your point? Like, what are you trying to say, bro?
Yeah, so I feel like gosh, poor Kim. Them Kardashians had no idea that it was going to get that serious.
They had no idea? What do you mean?
They had no idea that he was going to...
You talking about from the same guy who said that George Bush don't like black people on TV?
Yes, that guy.
The same guy that walked up on stage and said that Beyonce is the best in, sports.
But for so long, he contained it, right? He was acting right. Kanye just cut up.
No, he didn't contain it. He was just busy doing other stuff.
He was busy being creative.
It seems like now, it seems like now he has so much free time that his now creative outlet is to see how he can outrage everybody.
So I don't know if Kanye really has any mental illness, or if he really just shows out because he's a billionaire. And he could do whatever he wants and say whatever he wants.
Yeah, it's definitely not a mental illness. It's just him. I'll say on a base layer, he's somebody who likes to be creative. And when you're creative, you have to have the ability and space to just think and do things without thinking about the consequences, whether it's right or wrong. Right. You just have to you just go, that's creativity. You're combining a lot of different things that a lot of people might say shouldn't be. Right. And so you just kind of got to be able to do that. And so a lot of what he's doing is kind of fighting for I should be able to like what I want to like, say what I want to say, because that's my creative process.
It's like his mental landscape.
Right. And so he's kind of like fighting for that. So, but he's just gotten, really, I don't know, maybe he's just bored because...
I don't know what it is, but I just feel like I don't necessarily think he has a mental illness. I think he doesn't. When
you hear him talk, and if you don't get outraged by what he's saying, you can follow along some of his logic. Some of it doesn't make sense. But you can see where he's coming from.
Yeah, I think he gets really excited. And like I said even before, I think Kanye has really good points. The problem is it's like he says it all at one time.
Yeah.
And it's out of context. And if he was just a little more savvier with how he used his information, I think that it'll be more impactful. But I want Kanye to leave all this erraticness in 2022 and get back to being creative and really just showing us, giving us the talents that we know you have.
Right. So he should do one of two things where it's like, either, like you're saying, either become more articulate so that you can articulate your ideas
and your feelings
to people on, let's say, public platforms where you only have a limited amount of time. Yeah. If you're going to do that, you got to be really, really articulate, because you got to, if you want to provoke people and kind of have that thing, you got to have your point that you're going to get to very quickly. But a lot of times when you do hear him, it's like he's thinking and talking at the same time. Yeah. And it's just like, it's like
Kim took my kids and I don't give a fuck because Balenciaga, they just stole money from me. And then you're just like, wait a minute. Let's go back to what now? And so I really want him to gather himself in 2023. I really do believe that 2023 is going to be an amazing year. I just feel it.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's going to be a very profitable and prosperous year for us. But I really need us as Black people.
Right.
To wrangle this shit down.
And the other thing that we're leaving is Trevor Noah's leaving the Daily Show.
I love Trevor Noah.
Right. Which I didn't know when I heard he was leaving. I was like, I feel like he just got here, but apparently he's been on the show for 7 years, so it's a long time. Yeah. But he's somebody who has used his comedy, his style and approach to be able to talk about things, show you both sides, be creative in how he's being funny and talking about things. He's had a lot of great people on his show, both Black people, a lot of great Black women on his show. He did give a tribute to Black women as he left.
Yes,
and so that's somebody who is hats off to Trevor Noah, because he's done a great job.
Thank you, Trevor Noah, because we know you watch the show.
No, Trevor seems like he's a great guy.
And I do. I like him. I really like him. Yeah. You know what I mean? He's somebody I'd be like, can I go to your all's dinner party? I want to sit down and at your dinner party. I bet it's so captivating and interesting and cultured and just full of knowledge and just substance.
Yeah, and he's real personable too, because he seemed like, I mean, I also want to go to the dinner party.
You want to come?
You think, no, I'm saying, you think like I'm the celebrity that is there,
right.
but no, I want to go just like you guys want to go. You know what I mean?
I love that. I love that. He's very relatable.
He's very relatable, yeah.
Yes, and so also, Trevor Noah is one of those people that I definitely loved in terms of how he represented us.
Definitely.
Let me think of somebody else.
And then also, the Breakfast Club is still continuing, but Angela Yee's not going to be there anymore. So that is kind of like, let's say, a breakup of that group.
Yeah.
And obviously she's going on to do different things, but that is something that we're leaving in 2022, which they have been a huge part of just the culture in the community. Outside of, because I've never actually listened to them on the radio.
Yeah,
I've only seen them on video.
Yeah.
But it's been like a widespread show. And so having that dynamic change is different and it's interesting.
Yeah,
but,
and I really like Charlemagne the God.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like he's really and truly evolved.
Yeah, he definitely has. Yeah.
And he has his petty moments. He loves to be petty.
Oh, absolutely.
But he also, what I've noticed is being more impactful with his messaging.
Absolutely.
And so I can really appreciate that. And so I want us to definitely give him a round of applause for representing us in such a diverse way.
Yeah.
Because he's touching, these rappers and so, these amateur rappers and artists and whatnot that look up to him because of being on the Breakfast Club, right? Also, the gentleman from Get Out, what's his name?
You talking about the director or the actor?
The actor.
Daniel Kaluuya, I think.
Yes, I love him. I love him. He had some really cool movies this year.
He did.
And so I just really like him. I like what he stands for. I actually watched an interview with him the other night, and it was like a small little blurb, but his humility and just how he speaks about our culture and still the fact that, yes, I'm a Grammy award winning, actor. However, I'm still a black man.
Right.
And so it doesn't matter with my accent. It doesn't matter how sophisticated it sounds.
Right.
Because, I'm still a black man and with a Grammy.
Yeah.
I can still get pulled over. I can't throw my Grammy out the window and say, hey, I got my Grammy.
Exactly.
He says, so I still understand. He's not detached from society because of his popularity and successes.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So I love that.
Also, because you talked about the movies, all the stuff that Jordan Peele has done.
Yes.
Because I definitely have been a fan of using the horror genre to kind of relate that with some of the issues and struggles that Black people have dealt with. Because it makes it where you're able to discuss certain things, but in a way that it doesn't feel like you're just focusing on that.
It's not being taught to you.
It's not like being taught to you. It's not being like you're not being hit over the head with it, but you can definitely see it.
It's almost like it's speaking to your third eye.
Yeah.
You're like consciously but subconsciously being told, this is what's going on, but you're laughing.
Yeah, exactly.
But know that this is real.
Exactly.
And you understand it because you can feel it.
Right, and that's extremely creative.
That's a talent.
Then also The Woman King was good.
Oh my God. So we went and saw Woman King. So me, Toks, and our other friend, Christina, we went to see Woman King.
Yeah.
And it was such a good movie and I cried. And the whole time I'm like asking Toks, what did she say? Did she say this? Did she say that? Because of the dialect, it was a little strong at times. And so I just need to make sure. But I think my favorite part of the movie, what was it? It was a piece that I actually wrote down in my notes section. Please don't anger me. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, no, you're saying it right.
Don't anger me. I said I'm using it forever. I'm putting my name by it and I'm trademarking it. Okay. So
absolutely. So that was good. Great action. Great story. I know some people had some complaints about them feeling like, that was pushing. Not even the true story. Okay. Some people felt like that was pushing the independent, strong females, emasculating the men and all that. But I didn't feel like that.
He was still a king.
That wasn't the time for this conversation.
Right.
It was a good movie. And people don't understand is that we really haven't had an opportunity to say, let's say, some stories from the continent of Africa, done that big, done that well with that production budget. So let people celebrate that. And I know we're still having our male-female conversations, but don't bring that to that, because that really was good.
Yes.
Because they did try to bring some of that conversation over to the Black Panther, which I just was like, that's just completely unnecessary.
Shut it off. You're like, no.
Because I felt like if you saw that was a good movie. And yes, obviously, because Chadwick died, His younger sister Shuri does become the Black Panther. I didn't ruin it for anybody because obviously you see it in the trailer. Right.
But you said obviously you've seen the trailer.
Yeah,
yes.
No, because you see it in the trailer. Somebody has to become it, and it is a female, so obviously it is her. But if you follow along with the story, and I'm not going to ruin it for anybody, it is justified, and it is a difficult decision for her to do that. She wasn't just handed it where it's just like, hey, we're just going to give it to a woman.
Right.
That character earned and kind of like fought the right to be.
She did her damn thing in the regular Black Panther.
Yeah. So
I remember in the movie theater clapping so excited because she came through in a clutch.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that was rightfully given.
Yeah, that was rightfully given. Yeah.
It was earned.
It was earned.
Yes.
Yeah.
So musically, I'm trying to think who else. I would say just this next year, I want us to be more intentional as people of color. I honestly hate the way that we're being perpetuated in the media, but it's not necessarily us being perpetuated. It's real shit.
It is.
And it's very embarrassing because when we're both in a form of corporate America, when they see us, we can also be second representation of those kids that are, stealing and killing other people. When some people see us, they don't see us as us. They see us as just a color.
Absolutely. And that's people also don't understand that that's just natural. Is that when you see something a bunch of times, you just make associations and then you bring those associations to the next thing that you see.
Right.
And so we have to do a better job of showing more positive stories, more positive things. Kind of like we talked about with the whole Woman King and also the Black Panther stuff, is that those are two instances of people being presented well.
Yep.
And we just need more of that.
Yes.
And so the more we have that, the more that'll change the perception, because there are a lot of times around the world where people won't get to experience Black people on an individual basis first. They'll experience it through the media and different things. Right. And then use what they've learned there to then kind of judge people that they do meet face to face. So we just got to do a better job of that.
I would agree. I think we should also be a little more responsible with the content that we share on social media.
Absolutely.
The fights, the ratchetness, the disrespect. Like, I wish there was a way that we can just shadow ban that. But it's high in demand,
Yeah.
So I really want us to be more conscious with what we share just going forward.
Yeah.
How we represent ourselves, because we also have to represent each other.
Right. And then I'd also like us to be more organized. And by that, I mean, we need to be able to organize and provide rules of conduct and ways that people need to conduct themselves.
Yes.
To know whether you are part of the people who are progressively being Black or you're part of the problem. And so I think there needs to be, because we are all one, but at the same time we're not, because there is some divisiveness in terms of people who are trying to be positive and constructive and, build families and do all of that. And then there are people who like all this other stuff, and we need to divide that in that you kind of have to pick a side.
Yes.
If you're going to be here on this progressive side, then you kind of have to adhere to some of the rules,
right,
so that you can present as well, so that we can say that, hey, yes, there are many, different, Black people, but there are us who are us, and then there are those people who are those people. The
separation in class.
Yeah.
Yep. Perfect. And so in 2023, are we going to see more art from you?
Absolutely. Got a lot of great art coming. Probably towards the end of the year, I'm going to do a show in Atlanta.
Maybe we'll move that up.
It's going to be during Atlanta Art Week.
Okay.
So
that's fair. That's fair.
Yes, because we just had the first Atlanta Art Week. I was going to say like it was last year, no, but it was earlier this year.
Yeah. And
so next year will be the second version of that, which is great. Because that was started by some local Black people. Yeah. I think it's Kendra Walker. So shout out to Kendra Walker for kind of like spearheading that and like structuring that. Okay. Because it's things like that then kind of build up over time.
Yep.
To where you have things that are kind of like similar to Art Basel, where that started as a small thing at one point in time before it grew into what it is now.
Yeah.
And so bringing that to Atlanta is definitely amazing.
Perfect. And then for me, moving into 2023, you guys will see more Let's Talk About It Over Cocktails with Carly. You guys will also see more of my candle company, which is Golden Mauve. I will definitely be probably going full throttle marketing on that, rebranding, and just trying to get into everybody's homes in the United States of America. Also, you guys will see more of CWCTO, Cocktails with Carly, and Toks Ogun.
Exactly.
And so with that said, we appreciate you guys. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for being supportive. This has been a new venture for both me and Toks. Toks has been working on some amazing art,
Absolutely.
to be able to show us in the coming months. Shout out to Trav in the back for making sure all of our vocals, all of our production, everything is amazing. Everything is wonderful. Shout out to my most amazing and great assistant and friend, Alicia the Realtor. You can find her on Instagram at Alicia the Realtor on Instagram. If you guys are interested in buying a house, a home, or if you just want to talk to her, go follow her. She just posts all these really cool like real estate photo videos all the time. If you guys are interested in this production, reach out to Trav in the back at The Cool One on Instagram. Toks Ogun, where can these people find you?
So y'all can find me at Toks Ogun. That's TOKSOGUN, and that's everywhere.
Everywhere, even the .com.
Even the .com.
And I am Cocktails with Carly. You can find me on Instagram at Cocktails with Carly _. You can also find me on the show page, Let's Talk About It Over Cocktails. And of course on YouTube, like, subscribe, same time, follow, all that fun stuff at Let's Talk Over Cocktails with Carly. Thank you guys. We appreciate you.
Bye, y'all.
Happy New Year.